So guys, first of all, welcome back. Okay, we have to kind of lock in today because you have a test review and we're testing on Wednesday. So we're gonna review today, but our test covers kind of some like randomly different topics. You kind of remember what we've done, so we're gonna do some examples together today. Okay, but I want you to really try to kind of lock in to make sure that you're ready for Wednesday, okay? So go ahead and take a look at the first page of your test review, please. Okay, you have an equation, a graph, and a chart. Okay, and you should know how to do all three of these. Let me see if I can move this out of the way. All right, so F is obviously a picture. Okay, you do not have a Delta Math today, so if we can just put Chromebooks away for now, please. Okay, when you're working on stuff on your own, if you want to listen to music or something, I don't care about that. Okay, so here's F. Here's G. And then here's H. So we're going to work through the middle column, okay, because I just want to pick a little bit of variety. So look at letter B. We're going to do these three right down the middle. I want F minus G of -4. Remember, I'm going to share the -4 with both letters. And then once I find those numbers, I'm going to minus them. Okay, the operation in the middle is subtraction. If I want F of -4, I would go to the graph of F. I would find -4 on the x-axis, and then I would report how high or low the graph is at that spot. So -4 is here. And I see that I have two types of circles. Which one do I have to map to, open or closed? Closed, so it would be 2. Remember, the operation in the middle is minus. Now I'm going to find G of -4. So find -4 in your X column. If you want to mark, okay, those first couple numbers up here should be minuses. So -4 is here. My Y value is what for G? 2, and 2 minus 2 is 0. Okay, if I was multiplying, I would times the 2 and the 2 together. If I was adding, I would add them. Okay, so just follow that pattern. Okay, take a look at letter E. I want H over G. What operation is that? Division, but they both share the -6. So I'll do H of -6. G of -6, and then I'll divide them with each other. Okay? Now, let's find G of -6 first, just because it's in the chart. So find -6. What's the answer for G? -10. Very good. So the bottom number is a -10. But for H of -6, I'm going to have to use the equation. And remember, all that means is you take the number and you put it in the X spot. So if it's an X plus 6, now it's a -6 plus 6. And what's that? Cancels to what? 0. Now remember, a 0 divided by anything is equal to what? 0. So remember, a 0 on top is just fine. Now, just to give you a freebie answer, what's the only difference between these two? Instead of H over G, what's this one? So it'd be -10 over 0. And can you have a 0 on bottom? No. Okay, so remember, that's undefined. Okay. All right, last question we're going to do from this section is letter H. Okay, so we're going straight down that middle column still. Okay, this symbol means composition. And remember that the way that compositions work is that you're going to do F of G of 0. And then do you happen to remember if you start outside or inside? Inside is correct. Very good. So I'm going to find G of 0 first. And then once I find that, do you remember like I'd like hide the F with my thumb? I just find this first. And then once I know that answer, that's where I'll go on F. So look in your G chart. It's the middle one. At 0, what's the answer? 8. And then 8 is where I'll go on F. Because then I'd move my finger out of the way and be like, oh, F is next. So then look at graph F, count out to 8, and then you're reporting back how high or low the graph is at that spot. How high is it? 2 is correct. So let me show you on the graph. 8 is here. Then I would go up 2 boxes to stay on the picture. Okay? All right, go ahead and turn the page, please. So 2, 3, and 4 are all the same type of question. So we're going to work out number 3. Okay? But 2, 3, and 4 are all kind of the same type. Okay? So take a look at number 3. You are asked to find F composition G and then G composition F. So let's go ahead and write what that means. Remember, the little circle means you're doing F of G of X. And then for the second one, you're doing G of F of X. So let's do A first. So I'm going to start with the equation of F, but I'm going to leave a blank where the X is. So read me out loud. What is F's equation? 4x minus 1 becomes 4 blank minus 1. And then into the blank, I'm going to put the G of X equation. And what's the G of X equation? X squared plus 2x. Now, quick question. Do I need parentheses or no? If there's a number in front of your blank, the answer is yes. Okay, and the reason why is that that 4 really applies to both of these guys. So 4 times x squared would give me a 4x squared. What about the 4 times the 2x? 8x, and then minus 1. Now, if any of those were like terms, I would combine, okay, but none of them are, so that's your answer. Okay? Questions on that? All right, now we're going to go the other way. So we started with F and we left our blanks for G. Now we're going to start with G, but leave our blanks for F. So read me out loud, what does the G equation say? How many times do you say X? 2 blanks. So we're going to have x squared plus 2x is going to be blank squared plus 2 blank. And then into the blanks, I'm going to put the whole equation for F, which is a 4x minus 1 here and here into both blanks. So 4x minus 1 here, 4x minus 1 here. You do have to put parentheses because of the squared. If it was just a blank and it didn't have a number in front or a squared, you wouldn't need it. Okay, now follow PEMDAS. PEMDAS says this exponent should happen first. So for 4x minus 1 squared, remember that just means I'm going to write it twice. So I'm going to do 4x minus 1 times 4x minus 1 again. And then once I'm done, I'll times the 2 in, and then I'll combine like terms. So let's go one term at a time. 4x times 4x again. 16x squared, very good. Next term is 4x times a negative 1. Negative 4x, very good. Okay, next term, I'm moving to the minus 1. Minus 1 times 4x is another minus 4x. And then what about negative 1 times negative 1 again? Plus 1. Because remember, negative times a negative is going to cross out. Okay, from there, I'm going to go ahead and times this 2 in. What's 2 times 4x? 2 times 4x is now in 8x. And then 2 times minus 1 is a minus 2. Okay, then I combine like terms. So my x squared is the only one of that type, so I can't combine it with anything. So I'm just going to leave this one the same. But when I'm looking at my x's, I see there's 3 of them I can combine. I have a negative 4x and a negative 4x. How many is that together? Negative 8, but then I also have a plus 8. Cross out. Very good. So these two cross out with this one and no x's are left. Okay, then for my numbers, I have a plus 1 and a minus 2. What's that? Negative 1. Okay, but remember, you want to multiply and square, combine like terms as your last step. Okay? All right, so that should help you with 2 and 4. Okay, go ahead and turn the page. So this is what we did the first day of notes. Okay, long division is what we did the second day of notes. So will you take a look at the next page? Does anyone remember how you know if you can do the shortcut? Very good. So you can shortcut when you're dividing by a regular x. It can't have a number on it. Okay, it can't have a number, let me say, in front of it. All right, so will you look at the 5 questions? There's an A, B, C, D, E. Which ones have to be long division that you can't shortcut? C and E. Very good. So I'm going to put no shortcut. And then also no shortcut on E. Okay, so no shortcut on C, no shortcut on E. And then we're going to work E out together. Because I really can't see what the signs are, so we're just going to have to guess. Okay. So no shortcut on C or E. We got it? All right, that means we have to do long division. So I have a 3x minus 1. And we're dividing that by 12x3, 7x squared. Let's make this a, does that look like a plus to y'all? I think this is actually a plus 1. And then minus 5x and minus 2. Okay, if our numbers don't come out right, then I might just change the equation a little bit because I am not sure if those signs are correct. The copy sucks, sorry. First question, I need my 3x to perfectly match a 12x3. Perfect. What would I need to times by? 4x squared. 4x squared on top. And then remember, you're going to times that by both terms in the front, and you're going to line it up under the first 2 terms. So 4x squared times 3x is a 12x3, a perfect match, just like it's supposed to be. And then I have a 4x squared times 1 is going to stay a 4x squared. What do I do with the signs on that row? Flip them. So minus, minus. 12 minus 12, what's going to happen in the front? Always should cross out. 7 minus 4 leaves me with how many to bring down? 3. X squared, and then minus 5x. Then I repeat the process. What would I need my 3x to times by to perfectly match a 3x squared? All I would need is an x, that's correct. X times 3x is a 3x squared. X times 1 is a 1x. But then what do I have to do with the signs on that row? We'll switch them. So it's a minus and a minus. Remember, 3 minus 3 should always cross out in the front. Negative 5 minus 1 more is how many? Negative 6x. carry down minus 2. Okay, then I repeat the process and I say I have a 3x, I need to perfectly match a negative 6x. Okay, what would I put for that? Negative 2. And then negative 2 times 3x is a minus 6x. Negative 2 times 1 is a minus 2, but then what am I going to do with the signs? Flip them. So if they were both minus, now they're both plus. Final remainder will be 0. Okay. Then remember that if your remainder is 0, you don't have to put the little fraction part. Okay, but I'm going to go ahead and write it that way because some of them you will get a remainder. Okay, so your answer, write it over here to the side, would be the top part. So 4x squared plus x minus 2 plus a remainder of 0 over 3x plus 1. Okay? But again, you don't really have to put it if it's a remainder 0, but you should know how to in case on your test it's not. Questions on that? All right, we're going to do 1 by shortcut, but remember, long division will work for any of these. The shortcut is the one where it only sometimes works. So we're going to work letter A. Will you set up the shortcut and see what you remember for letter A? Okay, letter A. All right, let's see if you did it right. If I'm dividing by an x with a plus 1, what do I put in the box? Remember, you switch the sign, so it's a minus 1. Okay, then also remember, you're only listing the numbers that come in the front, but no skips. So I have a 2x3, a 1x squared. So far, am I correct? What kind of 1 is that? This is a 2, this is a what? Negative 1, make sure you keep the signs on it. And then what should come after an x3 and an x2? A regular x, and it's missing. So do you remember I put in a 0 for that? So right here, I want you to put plus 0x. Okay, remember, there's no skips allowed, whether it's long division or synthetic. So I'm going to put in a 0, then my 3. Okay? First number comes straight down. So if it was a 2, it's still a 2. What is 2 times the box, which is a negative 1? 2 times negative 1 is negative 2. And then remember, I'm adding that next column. So negative 1 and negative 2 add to what? Negative 3. Then I take my new bottom number, I times it by the box. Negative 3 times negative 1 becomes positive 3. Then I add that to my 0, 0 and 3 make 3. Then I repeat, times with the box. 3 times negative 1 is negative 3, and 3 and negative 3 make 0, which is your remainder. Now remember, your answer should start 1x below what your problem was originally. So if it was an x3, your answer should start as an x2. So it'd be 2x2 minus 3x plus 3. And then I'm going to put with the remainder of 0 over x plus 1. Okay, but remember, if this is a 0, it's fine. You don't have to put it. Okay? All right. So I don't want to throw too much at you at the same time. So what I want you to do right now is I'm going to give you like 15 minutes. Okay, I want you to just try to work the sections that we did. You probably won't finish every question. Okay, but I'm going to give you the correct remainders for the divides in case you want to start there. Okay, letter B, you should get negative 138. Okay, obviously, if you just write that down, you're not gonna get credit for the whole problem. That way you can check your work. Okay, letter D, your remainder should be negative 128. And then letter C, your remainder should be just a negative 1. Okay? So that's for you just to kind of check your work, see if you're doing the right thing on those. Okay? And then we'll do like 15 minutes and then we'll keep going. Okay? You can do it. So pick something to work on off your review. Go ahead, check that in. Henry, would you like one? Like one? Daisy, you want one? Maybe you want to practice it? Michael, you want? Go on, practice it. Were you on one? Correct.
How many yourself? Say so. How many is that?
Give me two tasks. Give me 1 sec. Do you want calculators? Thank you. And then you have your ID with you? Okay, go ahead.
Oh.
Yes, that's fine. Is she gonna stay in there the whole period? Okay, so just do the reviews. Okay? All right. And here, go ahead. Maybe you want to get smarter, honey? Wait, that's next class.
Where is that? Isn't even fertile. Yeah, but it's actually good with specific.
Yes, sir. I would keep it just in the fraction. So you would still put a plus and then make it a minus one, but you get over just like you did. You did. Good job.
Oh.
Logan, Victor, Isaac, Davey. Did y'all see Job today?
You went see money for the bank. Live there.
Okay.
Legal for something with the bank. It's he get back to.
For real, or you're just playing? Oh,
It is bad.
I was gonna say that's a pretty sad reason to not be at school.
I think I haven't seen once.
All right, it's totally fine if you're still working. But we're gonna work a couple more off the next page just because I want to make sure we hit a little bit of everything. So will you turn to the inverses page, which starts with question 6? Okay, and we're just gonna hit a couple of these, make sure that you remember how to do it. We're gonna start with number 9. Okay, for inverses, okay, remember that you're gonna swap the x and the y, and then just get y by itself again. So for number 9, this is my equation. Where I see the x, I'm gonna change it to a y. So it's a 4 cubic root. And then it used to be an x plus 5. Now it's a y plus 5. Plus 11 equals x. Okay, and this is inverses notes. Okay, this is where you swap the x and the y.
Right, miss. So it's from algebra 2.
You did do this in algebra 2. I think you did easy ones in algebra 1 as well. All right, so first question, drop your railroad tracks. What number are we getting rid of first? Okay, the 11 with the minus 11. Very good. So the 11's crossed out. I have 4 cubic root y plus 5 x minus 11. Okay, next step. I have a times. Oh, yes? Question? That is correct. Now, to divide by 4, I'm going to put a 4th in front on both sides. Okay, if you want to make it a fraction, you can. I just think that looks worse. So I'm going to just put a 1/4 like this. Okay, because remember, a divide by 4 and a 1/4 are the same thing. So now we have this cubic root y plus 5, a 4th x minus 11. Now, remember, the day that we covered this, I said, if you want to times this in, you can, but I would just leave it. Okay, we're going to lazy multiply, lazy divide today. Okay, we're going to leave it like that. Next question, powers and roots cross out. So how do I get rid of a cubic root? I use a cubic, starts with a, not a, yes, a power. So it'd be a 3 power and a 3 power. So remember, if it was a square root, I would square. Cubic root, I'm a cube. So these guys are going to cross out. All I'm left with is a y plus 5, and then how do I undo a plus 5? Very good. So you'll minus 5. Good. So it's y equals 1/4 x minus 11 cubed minus 5. Now, to make this part of your test easier, remember we talked about the pattern. Okay, so once you've written it down, I want you to pay attention to the pattern that I'm pointing out to you, because a couple of these on your test are multiple choice. If you had a plus 11 outside, what do you end up with? Minus 11 inside. If you had a plus 5 inside, what did you end up with? Minus 5 outside. If you had a times 4 on the outside, you have a divide by 4 that's inside. It's kind of between the parentheses, but you get the idea. Okay, so remember, for that part of the test, if you remember that pattern, it can help you eliminate some choices that are obviously wrong. Okay? All right, we're going to do another one from this page. We're going to work number 11. Okay, so go ahead and switch the x to a y for me. So it's a half in the front. It was a x minus 3. Now it's a y minus 3. Plus 10 equals x. Railroad tracks down the middle. First thing I want to get rid of is a plus 10. How do I do it? A minus 10. Very good. 10 and negative 10 cross out. So I have a 1/2 y minus 3 squared, and then an x minus 10. Okay, a 1/2 means I want to divide by 2. How do I undo divide by 2? And remember, we're going to lazy multiply. So we're gonna 2 in the front, but we're not gonna really times it in. Okay, so the 2½ are gone. And then my 2 is in the front here, but remember, it's lazy multiply day, okay? So from here, I have a y minus 3. And then it's a 2x minus 10. Can you divide it in? Absolutely, but you're not going to get to see the pattern at the end. Okay, how do I get rid of a squared? I take the square root. Very good, that's right. Square root on both sides. That's going to cross out with the squared. So all that I'm left with is a y minus 3. How do I undo minus 3? Plus 3. Okay, now for this part of the notes. Okay, I'm sure you probably forgot it. It's okay, but I'm going to remind you. Okay, that if you have a less than, your square root should come out negative. Okay, remember that when you square root, it's a plus or minus that goes in front. If it's a less than, you put a negative in front. Versus on this one, what kind of sign is it? A greater than, you would keep a positive in front. And for that question on your test, it's multiple choice. So if it's a less than, you want a negative in front of your square root. Greater than, you want a positive in front of your square root. Okay? So but that would be your answer right there. Okay, and then I'm going to put a little note here. Negative on square root because x less than or equal to. Okay, versus if it had been a greater than, I would have put a plus in the front. Okay, but that question on your test about that one for sure is multiple choice, so that you won't forget which one to put in front. Okay? All right. Last one on this row we're gonna do is number, on this page, let's do 12. Okay, take your equation, swap the x to a y. So instead of x plus 6, now it's a y plus 6 equals x. Okay, what's the first number that we're getting rid of? Minus 7, and we're going to do it with a plus 7. So I have y plus 6, x plus 7. Okay, next question. I have a square root. How do I get rid of a square root? I use a squared, starts with a p. Power. Remember, powers and roots cross each other out. So square root, I'm going to square both sides. Remember the x plus 7, they need to like go into the squares together. So you're going to parentheses them. Okay, then what's your last thing to get rid of? The 6. And if it's a plus 6, how do I get rid of it? Minus 6. So your answer is x plus 7 squared minus 6. FOR, we have to pick an x greater than or a less than, because remember, on your test, this question's multiple choice. So was my square root originally a negative in front to give me a less than, or was my square root originally a positive in front? Then you know that you're going to pick the answer that has that symbol. So if your square root has a negative, that goes with a less than. Those are partners, right? A greater than goes with a positive square. Okay? And then the number that goes here, like I said, it's multiple choice, but it should be the opposite of plus 7, which is minus 7. But as long as you remember which way it's supposed to go, that will be enough for you to choose the correct answer. Okay? All right, go ahead and turn the page. We're going to do one more inverse question. We're going to do the graph. Okay, and I would like to deeply apologize that this graph, you cannot see the lines, but we're going to just do our best. Okay, so for your test, it's going to require you to do 5 points. Okay, but for the first graph, because it kind of sucks so much, we're just going to do 3. Okay, so normally I would make you do 5. But since you can't hardly see it anyways, we're just going to pick 3. And I'm going to pick the 3 points that I want you to do so that it's kind of easy on your eyeballs. Okay, first we're gonna do this one. Can you estimate what is that x comma y about? 9, -4 is perfect. Okay, then to graph the inverse, do you remember what you do with the x and the y? Just flip them, just like you did with the equation. So instead of a 9 - 4, now it's a -4, 9. And then graph that new spot. So -4 up 9. Okay, we're not going to sweat this. Just do your best. Okay, it should be about right there. The next 2 points that I'm going to have you pick are going to be on the y-axis because they're easy to count even though I don't have the boxes. So this one and this one. So these two right here. First one, what's the ordered pair? 0, -1. And then the other one is 0, -7. And then I'm going to take those ordered pairs and I'm going to flip-flop them backwards. So instead of -1, 0, -1, now it's -1, 0, and -7, 0. And then those dots are going to essentially flip from being here on the y-axis to being here on the x-axis. So put your dot on -7 and -1. And then that's really enough for you to draw your U. Just make sure you hit those 3 points. So it should look something like this. Okay. But I'll make sure your graph prints a little bit better on your test where you're not struggling to see the points. Okay. Do we remember how to graph those? All right. The last little bit of this is just what we did last class. So remember that we covered 3 different definitions, okay, that we're going to run back through, but for your test, you're going to get a little half sheet that reminds you what these words mean. Okay, so we're going to review it right now, okay, but for your test, you don't have to have it memorized because you'll have a little half sheet to remind you. Okay, down here at the bottom. Okay, commutative, let's write the definitions. Okay, it means that f of g of x equals g of f of x. Okay, and if you remember what we talked about, basically it means no matter which order you do them in, you get the same answer. Whether you do f into g or g into f. For inverses, not only should that happen, but everything should cancel down to x. Everything cancels to equal just an x left over. So commutative means the order doesn't matter. Inverse means literally everything crosses out. You just have an x at the end. So we're going to do one of these. And we're going to do letter C, okay? The one that you just wrote your answers on, or your definitions on. So it says, determine or prove that f and g are commutative, inverses, or neither. So let's see. If I want to do f of g and g of f, for commutative functions, these answers should come out exactly the same. And remember, I'm just plugging one into the other and then doing it backwards. So let's say I want to do this top one first. Can you read me out loud? What does the F equation say? X plus 2 is now blank plus 2. And then remember, the other equation goes in the blank. So I'm going to take my x plus 10. I'm going to drop it in right here. And actually, I was going to put a parentheses here, but do I really need it? Not if there's not a number in front. So I'm going to cross it out. And then what is x plus 10 plus 2 the same as? 10 and 2 make 12. Okay, now, quick question. Did everything cancel but an x? Or do I still have a plus 12? Then these can't be inverses. Because remember, the definition of an inverse is everything's got to cross out except just the x left. Okay, so they're automatically not inverses because I have a 12 left over. Let's see what happens the other way. What is my G equation? X plus 10, now it's blank plus 10. And then into the blank, I'm going to put the other equation. So it'd be x plus 2. And then what is x plus 2 plus 10? Still x plus 12. So did the order matter, or did I get the same answer both ways? So it is commutative. Okay, because these came out the same. Now, what if they came out different? Then you would say neither, right? Okay, so you'll work those the exact same way. Go ahead and turn the page, please. Okay, I'm going to give you your definitions on your sheet, but you'll have them also for your test. Okay, 1-to-1 means that your graph has to pass the VLT and the HLT. It has to pass both. Do y'all remember what those stand for?
Vertical line test.
Vertical line test and horizontal line test. And remember, for both of those, when you draw the line, it can only cross once. So let's do graph number 2. Will it pass this one right here? Will it pass the vertical line test?
Yes.
Yeah, what about horizontal? No. Okay, this one, when I draw my line through it, okay, I see that it would cross twice. That means it's not 1-to-1. Okay, and I'm going to write here, it fails the HLT. Now, it does pass VLT, but remember, it's a 2-for-1. 1-to-1, they have to both pass. So it's not. Okay, second question. If it's even, the y-axis should be symmetric. And then if it's odd, you should have a symmetric rotation. And do you remember that's where you put your finger in the middle, turn your paper upside down, and it should look the same. So we're still doing that middle graph. Does the y-axis create a symmetry in graph number 2? Yes. And that makes it which one? Even is correct. Okay, and then your graph can't be even and odd, so it's one or the other. Okay, so in this case, it would be even. Can you tell me which of those graphs will be odd, the first or the third? The first, sorry. Because if I put my pencil here and I flip it upside down, do you see how it looks the same? No matter whether it's upside down or right side up, you see how it's still a squiggle? Now, will that one also be 1-to-1? Yes, because it'll pass both the VLT and the HLT. All right, last question we're doing together is very, very, very bottom. Okay, 1-to-1 means it has to pass VLT and HLT. If you're looking at a graph, that's helpful. But if you're looking at a table, that's not so good. So for a 1-to-1, your X's and your Y's can't repeat. Okay, because it has to pass VLT, which is X's can't repeat, HLT, which is Y's can't repeat. So nobody repeats if it's 1-to-1. If it's a function, that means just your X's can't repeat. But your Y's are fine. If they do or don't, it doesn't matter. Okay, if it's a function, just your X's have to follow the rules. And then if it's not a function, that means the X's do repeat, if you want to write that. Okay? So remember to turn your little circle mapping into a table. The first circle are your X's, second circle is your Y's, and then you're going to map them based on where the arrow goes. So will you turn this mapping into a chart? So X, Y, remember first one are the X's, second one is the Y's. What is -5's partner? Arrow goes to 2. What is -2's partner? Uh-oh, we have a double. And if my y's repeat, which one can it not be? Can't be 1 to 1, but it might still be a function, so let's see. Okay, 1 goes with 8. But then, uh-oh, what does 1 also go with? 6. That means my x is a repeat, then it can't be a function either. It is a not. Okay, and then 0, 7 if you want to include it. Goes in your chart. Okay, but the definitions on the last page, you will have access to. You should know what they mean, but just so you don't get confused on your test, you'll have a little half sheet. Okay? Answer key will be on Schoology right after school today for your review. Okay, but keep working. You still have 30 minutes. Okay, and I expect you probably need help on some of this, so just ask. Yes. Did you already put a pass in? I can do it.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.